Yo, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to my channel. First time I'm doing a Q&A in a long time. So most of these questions I've picked off my Instagram. If you're not following, get following at spearmanchris. I'm just going to name out a few, and they're quite frequent. I've narrowed it down to like 5 or 6, and they're questions that I get all the time, mainly about training in this one. We'll go into nutrition and supplementation another time, but this is primarily about training. So, first question: how many days per week do I need to train? Now, the answer is, it depends what you define training as. So, it depends on your goals, amongst an array of other things. For the vast majority of people, you don't need to train every day. As long as you have a good nutritional profile, you're relatively responsible for what you put in your mouth, and you can stay quite active 3 times a week, depending on your goals, of course. And it really comes down to what suits your lifestyle. And if you can't go to the gym a huge amount, then obviously you need to be a little bit more strategic with the food that you put in your mouth, and vice versa. Being honest and really blunt, I like my food, not necessarily. I have a sweet tooth, so very often I will keep my expenditure quite high, and I will keep my calories that I'm burning quite high, so that I can afford to maybe have something a little bit off plan if I decide that I need to. So you need to weigh that out. Of course, if you want to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. If you want to grow muscle tissue, then you need to be in a calorie surplus. Generally speaking, I will train more frequently when I'm dieting and when I'm cutting, because for me it's just an excuse to burn more calories. I'm going in there and burning more calories. If on the flip side of the coin you want to grow tissue, rest, recovery and sleep can actually sometimes and more often be more important than going to the gym all of the time. So it's important in a situation like that you go in, you stimulate, you recover, you rest, recuperate, and do the same again. So it's completely dependent. And a lot of these questions, the answer will be, it depends. And that's because you really need to think that each person's goals are specific to you, and you really need to focus on those. And you need to draw out a good plan of action for you and nobody else. I don't have an hour to exercise. Am I doomed? So no, not necessarily. Like I said, you can get your activity that you need, throughout the day. Very often, unless you're sitting at a desk all day, it can be quite easy, to burn some calories. Very often, sometimes I'll go to the gym and I'll bang out a session in half an hour. I'll go in, stimulate the muscle, burn some calories, refuel, recover, rest. So you don't have to be spending hours and hours and hours in the gym. You really don't. It depends on your goals. And obviously your nutrition needs to be in sync with your training, in the sense that for myself and a lot of my clients, we will structure carbohydrates in and around the workout perimeter. So that means, of course, that depending on where in the day that you train, whether it's once in the morning, whether it's once in the evening, whether it's twice, that you structure your carbohydrates or your nutrition accordingly. Your duration in the gym will often depend on your schedule, but then you need to put your nutrition in sync with that. If you're burning a huge amount of calories in the gym, then you probably need enough to recover from those sessions, or else maybe you're in too much of a deficit, which you don't want to be, depending on your goals. I hate running. Can I still do a program with you? Absolutely. I don't run. I never run. The only thing I run for is a bus if I need to. And even then, I will normally just chill because I've got work to do on my phone. So you don't need to run, and I don't advise any of my clients to run. Not witch hunting against running. It's just not something that I prioritize at all. The only time that I will discuss running with a client is if they really, really enjoy running and they maybe don't have a huge amount of time for low intensity. Even then, I would urge them to do a HIIT workout rather than an actual jog or a run. Personally, I feel like it doesn't help my goals personally. I feel like my step count is high enough as it is. I feel like I burn enough calories as it is. And any additional running can put strain or pressure on my joints, ligaments, and often fatigue my central nervous system, depending on whatever you're running on. So personally, I would shy away from it. If you enjoy it and it serves you well and adds value to your life, by all means do it, but it's definitely not a must. How long should I rest between sets? So I get this asked all the time, and as always, it depends. Personally, I feel as I get leaner and as I progress my fitness levels, I can get away with less rest between sets. When I'm growing and really trying to put on tissue, I need to be pushing heavy weight. My intensity needs to be high, which means my rest period generally increases so that I can recuperate and go again. Generally speaking, as time progresses through a cut, like right now I'm quite lean, I will be going in there and I'll be looking for a pump and stimulating the muscle effectively and efficiently, and then getting my nutrients in afterwards and just trying to burn some calories. So my rest period shortens. Also, as I progress through one workout, I would probably start off not rusty, but I start off at a decent rhythm. As I progress, my rest periods get smaller and smaller and smaller until very often I'm going from one set to the next, chasing that pump. And that's just how I like to train. Obviously, it depends on person to person and your training program. If you're solely focused on hitting numbers all of the time, like I might be in my off season or my growing phases of training, then rest is important, because of course you want to be hitting those numbers. So that will completely depend on your goal too. How long should I rest in between training days? Great question. So very often some of my clients will not take a rest day. I urge them to, but they know that their calories or their carbs are lower on their rest day than their training days. So very often they will say, Chris, I really want my post-workout food. Can I train? Generally, I'm okay with it unless I really feel like it's going to negatively impact or affect their progress. Personal preference, I don't like taking more than 48 hours away from the gym. I feel like 48 hours is my limit. After that, I can get quite cranky and I can become a bit of a dick. Because I really need that endorphin rush. Like, to say I'm addicted is putting it mildly. Like, I really chase that rush. I don't do recreational drugs. I don't drink. I don't do, all of that crazy stuff that gives you a buzz that other people may do. So for me, that kind of endorphin rush and that hit comes from when I leave the gym and I look good, I feel swole. Chasing the pump. So for me, that's important. And with 48 hours without that, I will die. But then again, it comes down to your schedule and what's important for you. Can I train twice in one day? Absolutely. I train twice right now every day. So resistance training wise, or cardio. So some people will do cardio in the morning and their resistance in the evening, or vice versa. Sometimes people will do 2 resistance training sessions, which right now is what I'm doing. I'm lucky and fortunate enough that I can create my own schedule, between the coaches around me or workloads I can disperse throughout the week. So I factor in that my training is probably the most important time of my day, not only for my business, but also so that I can actually de-stress and recover. When I say recover, I mean like mentally just relax. So that's when I'm most relaxed, believe it or not. So I will train twice every day. It also means that I burn more calories. It also means that I've got 2 anabolic windows of recovery, which means I can get more food and more carbohydrates in, and I get twice the hit. So it depends, right? It's completely up to you and if your schedule allows it. I find that my results are great when I'm cutting. If I train twice a day, when I go back to growing, it's going to be difficult to train twice a day. So we're going to have to see how that goes, but I will need to recover. I want to get bigger / stronger. Should I be training differently? Absolutely. So just like I said, to get stronger or bigger, hypertrophy wise, you really need, in my opinion, of course, you need to be ensuring that you're training effectively and efficiently, but realistically, you need to be progressing, and progressive overload becomes ever important. You really need to be pushing numbers to grow and get stronger, because at the end of the day, without a novel response or a novel stimuli, your body is not going to adapt and grow. So you really need to be focusing on hitting your numbers, or that being said, progress-wise or progressive overload isn't always weight. It can be weight, it can be sets, volume, reps, your time under tension increases, your rest period between sets increase. So all of those things will initiate a novel response for your muscle to grow. Of course, your nutrition becomes ever important. There's no point smashing the gym and having a new training program and then neglect your nutrition. So it's massively, massively important that you focus everything on your specific goal. That being said, I feel like all of this is massively important, and realistically, if you're watching this, you have a fair idea what you're doing. Like, you can look at a nutrition program online or get a training program off YouTube, but realistically, what you pay for when you go to a coach is accountability. It really is accountability, because I can get a nutrition program out of the sky and a training program and I'll progress, but it's when you really you need someone else to objectively look at what you're doing and tweak it and be accountable to someone else. If there's no skin in the game, you're not going to progress. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys, for now. That's just a brief Q&A about training. My personal opinion, without delving too deep into the science behind things. If you want to really delve deep into the science, then check out my podcast. It's the Shred with Science podcast. It's on iTunes, and it's also on Android. I'm going to leave the link below in the description from now on, so you guys can check those out as well. I go into a little bit more detail scientifically in my podcast, more so than maybe YouTube. So check those out. Of course, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't, please subscribe. And anything you want to see in the future, smash below. Have an awesome day, guys. Take it easy. Kill your week. Enjoy. Peace.